Welcome to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan Raghavan.
Okay, so Sharan, this is an interesting one. We are talking about something which I think generates a lot of debate, rather arguments, and it is all about products. So, too often when we speak to entrepreneurs, they talk about the fact that I've got a great product and now that's the end of it. Now people will just come, buy, give me the money that I need, and then my enterprise can run till eternity. I know in the past you've said this, that this belief is a myth,
Of course it is,
right?
yeah.
No, but I would really want you to elaborate on it, just to make sure that all of us understand that you're not just saying this because to sound clickbaity or to sound edgy or contrarian, but you really believe in this.
So the edgier version of this is that your product doesn't matter.
So that's the clickbait headline.
That's a clickbait headline you can use. But when you say entrepreneurs, Sudeep, I know you're talking about the startup people, right? Who, in the last 10 years, who started up a business of their own, created a new product. But I see this even with seasoned entrepreneurs, as in businesses that I largely work with, the second generation businesses, where the first generation still holds on to the fact that if they can manage to manufacture something really good for cheap, they will continue to make money and customers will keep coming. And the second generation struggles to convince them otherwise. And this is the biggest myth in business. If you build or if you make, they will come.
Let's get deeper into this. I have a theory about it as well, but I'll share it maybe later. But what you're saying is, kind of goes against what we read when we were in college also. When we spoke about marketing, we said product is the hero.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is product is not the hero.
Product is no longer the hero. I know it sounds very counterintuitive. Is that in today's world, the hero is the brand. When manufacturing has been so commoditized, it is the story you build around the brand that kind of makes the product more valuable. Right?
Okay. So fair. So story is the hero. Okay. So tell me now, before we start debunking this myth, let's first say, why does this myth exist? Why do so many entrepreneurs believe that product is the hero and that's the be all and end all of it? Are they being simplistic, naive? What do you think it is all about?
Entrepreneurs put their heart and soul into creating these great products. And that is the first controllable that they have. Now, a brand, to a large extent, while you can strategize and envision it, it's not completely controllable. You want to be in control of the business. So you overinvest on the manufacturing side and you keep fine-tuning the product. And because you put in so much effort and love and care into creating it, you hold it so close to your heart. You say, my product is so much better than competition. They will come to me. I know this is a problem with the competition.
But you make it sound like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, my precious.
My precious. But it's natural to believe that you've done something, and that's so great. But the other point is that today, anybody's able to make something. It is such a noisy world. Everybody's making something or the other. Now, it is so crowded that if you don't actively get people to notice what you've done, it really never sees the light of day. It just doesn't matter.
So fair. So from product, we spoke about brand, and towards the end, you spoke about marketing also, because you want people to hear it. So for the moment, I'll leave the marketing aside.
Okay.
Let's talk about product and brand. And, I can think of some very powerful product brands, right? For example, Apple or Tesla, or one of my favorites, actually. And I give this example to a lot of people in many different ways, that how can company own consumer experience वगैरह. Dyson and Bose. And Bose, for example. Yeah, we've spoken about Bose examples. So now all of these are built on solid product experience, right? So when you talk about some of these, don't they kind of contradict your contrarian view?
No, they don't.
Okay.
In fact, they are examples of how a brand can stand out in a noisy market. In fact, it's in my favor, what this says, in my argument's favor. So the iPhone had years of anticipation built up around it. So even before they launched the iPhone, people were saying Apple's going to launch a phone, going to launch a phone. They just didn't know what it was going to look like. They were just applying the Macintosh design language, and there were people were imagining it. Even today, people believe Apple can still launch a car to compete with Tesla, and they're already willing to buy it. I don't even know if Apple thinking about buying that car, making that car. So it is Apple's brand that is building this perception even before the product has been built.
Yeah. Okay.
You say Elon Musk goes around saying, "I don't believe in advertising," but it's his personal brand that's built Tesla. All his personal values he puts onto the brand, saying you should not be able to repair a Tesla and all that nonsense he says. It's his personal brand bouncing off the product. So people, when they buy a Tesla, they're buying it because there's a belief in Elon Musk and what he's doing. Like your example, Dyson, they don't just sell vacuum cleaners, right? They sell cutting edge design innovation. And these are exceptions where, see, if you look at it, all three of them are actually still storytelling. Just that they're not storytelling in the most obvious ways. They're saying it in a way that is not desperate, that reinforces the brand that they already are and gets you to buy into that narrative.
And maybe what I hear you say in not so obvious words, also it that make no mistake, all three are great products.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think a great product is the foundation of any brand. You can't build, see, a strong narrative is great. A strong narrative will get people to try. But after they try, if there's nothing in the product, where are you going to go? The biggest example right now is the Ola electric scooters, right? It was sold so well.
Yeah.
But look at how horrible the product is. People are not buying it anymore. People just don't want to go there. So that's the exact example of saying if you don't have a product and focus only on the narrative, it's a problem. Here, I'm assuming the base level is that people have got the product right and they believe that is good enough to sell. No, it's not.
So you're talking about the second layer of storytelling, branding, etc., that can make a very good product into a great brand and thereby generate great value for the company.
Absolutely. And
right?
create great traction for the next product they launch also.
Now, this brings us to a very interesting departure, Sharan. You were talking about second generation entrepreneurs, talking to first generation entrepreneurs, etc. Now, first generation entrepreneurs excelled in making products, like you said, make good quality products at a cheap price. And if you're able to do it at scale, then you are in business. And so therefore, the one person who was celebrated the most in movies and in popular culture also was the factory worker.
Exactly.
Right? Or, the people who were really doing it with hand or who were operating the machines, the machine operators, etc. So that was the hero of industrialization, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that hero has completely lost their sheen now. There are newer heroes that are emerging.
Oh, yeah, totally. Because if you look at what's happening in India also, look at the businesses that were built on the muscle of industrialization. The Tatas, Birlas, the Godrejes. So they became brands and businesses on the might of their manufacturing capabilities. But what's happened today is that manufacturing has gotten so commoditized. Whatever you think of, you'll be able to find a way to make it somewhere in the world. I'm not saying manufacturing is not important anymore. Like I say, product is important. Manufacturing is also very, very important. Just that today it's become so figure outable that it almost evens the base for a lot of people. And after that, when everything is so flattened out, it is what value you can get people to perceive. What you add on top of it that makes all the difference.
It is almost as if this narrative is building towards Sharan fixing a cape on himself and then saying, I am the Superman. So what he's saying is that the factory worker is now replaced by the storyteller.
Pretty much. It is down to the storyteller. When it's a storyteller, right, it kind of dilutes the whole thing. Let me give you another analogy, right? Everybody's got a cake. The base cake is something everybody's able to make. How are you able to decorate it? How are you able to ice it? It's not just making it look better. It is adding to the entire value of the experience of consuming that cake. And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is the storytelling I'm talking about.
Yeah. So it is about not just delivering product, but delivering value, delivering experiences,
Exactly.
right? Of which
Right.
storytelling is also a part.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a
Okay.
kitchen cutlery brand yesterday talk about an unboxing experience that they've designed for their customers. How
Wow.
beautiful is that?
Alag level. I remember when we were studying Kinder Joy very closely, it was this whole experience of unboxing, the whole anticipation of what will come from inside, the whole multitude of textures, etc., that was built in. It was so much more than the product, which was making it work.
Exactly.
And therefore, I kind of resonate with what you're saying. It's just that when consultants like you start making a point, sometimes you tend to mislead people. Now, after listening to today's episode, entrepreneurs are going to say, okay, storytelling is the thing. Now, let me fire everybody else. I need storytellers. Now, the other side, Sharon, don't you think it's a little bit overhyped? We've seen multiple times that there is lots of story, lots of bluster, but when it really hits the road, rubber hits the road, there is a problem, right? So, service brands, product brands across all, what would
Absolutely.
you say about that?
This is what happens when marketers spend more time on LinkedIn than they do on marketing.
I don't
So,
know whether the dig is at me or the marketers who are. I don't spend
no,
so much time on LinkedIn though.
see, the brand is about creating the promise. Now, and the product, like we said, product has to deliver. So without a good product, storytelling doesn't really work. Now, we cited Ola's example. There are quite a few startups, I stop short of naming them, who have become very familiar with a lot of the customer base. And if I name them, you'd know them. You might not have tried them, but you'd know of them. But what do they stand for? You don't know. How good the product is, you don't know. So that is where there's a bit of a miss, where people start getting taken in, getting so excited about the story they're trying to tell, they forget to service the customers. And that definitely does happen, especially when you're a startup. And if you are too enamored by the glamour of advertising and marketing, this is definitely something that can happen very easily.
I completely agree. And so therefore we're going back to the days of Tata, Godrej, etc.,
Hmm.
who built their brands via consistent quality, reliability, trust, etc., and build their story on top of it.
It is. It is the trust and reliability are forms of storytelling for the brands, for Tata and Godrej also. These brands built narratives around quality, around patriotism, around employee welfare, being socially responsible. These are things that these brands stood for. And these values then translated into becoming a brand. So even today, you trust a Godrej ka cupboard more than any other cupboard. Well, Godrej makes so much more. You just trust it more. Godrej locks you
Yeah.
trust more. You trust a Tata product to be of great value, no matter how well it's priced, how badly it's priced. So these things are coming, and these resonated with the consumers of those days. And it continues to do so today.
Okay.
And when basically is to say, when your narrative and your brand and your behavior all stack up together is when you have the right success. That's when your business can see light.
Okay. And nowadays, because without the talk of performance marketing, no episode of ours can finish, Sharon. So, when you talk to entrepreneurs, a lot of them are fairly convinced that the first job for all the business is to drive trials, for which you need performance marketing. And once you've gotten a certain set of consumers to engage with them or to retain them, you need storytelling.
Right.
And hence, their thing is put on blinkers. Don't think about anything else. Just do performance marketing to start with. Build a great product, do performance marketing. That's it. What do you think about that?
You know what I think about that?
No, but in a more polite and more polished and more educative
Well,
manner,
in a more
please.
polite way, storytelling is needed everywhere, and you can't just survive on performance marketing. And you do need trials, right? So I'm not saying don't drive trials. You do need trials. And without it, you can't really do your business. Simple as that. So you mentioned startups and the products that can be disappointing, right? So that's a case of bad storytelling also sometimes. What happens is they tell a story while sampling. They tell a story. They say, I will sample to whoever I can. And you could be very easily out of their target base. And you might not like the product. So when you're going carpet bombing and not sure who you're going to talk to, So we've spoken about this in multiple episodes, saying how you got to figure out who your target audience is. So when you start there, so have some kind of structure there, even when you're doing trials, have a structure to know who you're taking it to, who you're not taking it to, and therefore be sharp. Don't just go sample to everybody. Don't just drive trials with everybody, because it is not for everybody that you can build a brand. And these trials are expensive when you do it on performance marketing.
Yeah, they are. They are. And second point is, while they are expensive, they're important. And you're talking about companies that are already stretched on margins. They are playing on
Oh,
investors' money, etc. Right? And hence,
especially
performance marketing becomes important.
in FMCG, right? Especially because we talk of different measures of CAC, LTV, which don't really hold too much water in categories like FMCG. It kind of works okay in tech. Today, everybody's talking like a tech business. And FMCG, like we said, is a repertoire consumption. You can only aim to be a share of the repertoire.
Hmm.
And when you're doing that, you can't spend like the tech guy. You're not going to scale like the tech guy. And you, without a strategy saying, I will make money in the future, is not going to happen. If your unit P&L is not working, you're not going to make money. So performance marketing is well and good. It's great for driving trials. But if you have your strategy in place, that's when it actually works for your business. Otherwise, it doesn't.
So what you're pitching for is strategic performance marketing
Which
rather
is
than
your
blind performance,
storytelling.
which is
Exactly.
storytelling led. Okay.
Yes,
So that you're attracting the right set of consumers, and then you have the highest hope of retaining them.
absolutely.
And if you're not able to retain a consumer,
Hmm.
we've always said that create trials, and if people don't come back, possibly the product was not good. But what you're hinting towards is slightly different also.
Yes. Because that is one of the reasons the product might not be good. So check for it. But you could also be talking to the wrong people. You can't make a Pushpa and get Sanjay Leela Bansali to watch it. So you got to figure out who you're making it for. You need to keep the sentiments of the audience in mind. You might need to fine tune your story a little better, position it better. So these are fine, and this is where the positioning actually comes into play. And this is far better than sitting in the boardroom and figuring this is what I'm going to do, than putting it onto the market and fine tuning it on the go. It's definitely works, but make sure you know the insight, you know the target audience, you know the role your brand can play in their life. Look at what you can fulfill, and therefore build a cohesive narrative around all of this together.
Okay. The last bit I want to cover on this, Sharan, is this whole thing around now that you've said that branding is important, storytelling is important. It might sound very discouraging to some of the smaller companies, smaller brands that are there who are listening to us. Now, what would you say to them? How can they compete in the market versus other established brands who have bigger budgets along?
This is exactly what I said, but I'm going to use a different word, which is largely bastardized. It's called
Mm,
authenticity. So
mm.
I'm going to just rip it a little to say what it's supposed to mean when I said, what is the promise you can make and what is it you're able to fulfill for the customer? This clarity, when you have, you can always talk to the customers one on one. You can actually pick up the
Okay.
phone and talk to them. You'll have their
Yeah.
contact details. You can reach out to
Yeah.
people who've tried your product. Just
Yeah.
call up, talk to them, and understand what they want, how you can make it better. You don't need big budgets for this. The moment you make these micro reach outs to customers, you connect deeply with your audience. You understand what they're looking for. And therefore, one, you can build better and you can connect with them across channels. And the word of mouth this triggers is tremendous. The moment I met a customer of Aether, they said they had some great service experience. So what happened is that 3 other friends of mine bought Aether because one person
How
had
bad?
great service experience. It
Mm,
also helped that
mm.
others weren't getting great service. But these are things that happen by just connecting with consumers. You don't have to do it on scale. It's not about money at all.
Okay. So there's this money, and then there is the whole thing around reach or distribution,
Hmm.
right? These become sort of challenges that the small brands can't seem to wrap their heads around, and therefore it seems like they'll not be able to compete.
Distribution seems scarier than it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we've said that a few times. Now, I'll give you an example of what the power of the brand is. I was at Ajmer recently and I saw Beyond Snacks, Manes Madhu's
Mm,
Beyond Snack,
mm.
Kerala banana
Yeah, Kerala
chips
banana
in
chips.
Yeah. I saw it there in a store in Ajmer. He was on a 100th episode. He's a good friend. So I know they're not distributing in Rajasthan. So I asked the retailers, how did you get this in your store? He got a shelf full of Kerala banana chips. He said, no, I got it off Amazon. Like, you will buy this from Amazon and sell. Why? Obviously, he's not making any money of it. So no, a few customers came and repeatedly asked for this. I didn't want to tell them I don't have stock of it. I didn't know who the distributor was. So found it on Amazon. I bought it on Amazon and I'm selling it.
Interesting. Very interesting. That's the power of creating some kind of a pull in consumers' head. Okay, excellent.
I don't think they've done big advertising. The fact that they've been on Shark Tank and they've got great word of mouth. And once people are hooked to the chips, people are hooked to it. And that's probably triggered this inquiry. And retailers are open. A lot of time we say you can't get distribution unless you give retailers high margins. Here you see a retailer buying off Amazon on MRP and selling on MRP just to make sure the customers are happy when they walk into the store.
Yeah. So demand creating distribution,
exactly.
Not the supply. So great. I think excellent point. Excellent point. So I think I love this, Sharan. What you've quite beautifully said is that product still is very critical. Product performance is very critical. That is what your trust and reliability comes from. But it is not enough to only rely on a great product or great manufacturing. What you need is creation of story, creation of a experience package or value to the customer, which delights them and hence differentiates you from everybody else. And that's how you'll be able to create possibly sustainable value for yourself, for your company, etc. And hence it is critical that you have a great product and you invest behind creating strategic choices for storytelling, creating customer delight experiences, etc.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net.